going to talk a little bit about planing, and I'm going to give you several tips that you'll want to use to make your planing a little easier. Let me move the dust collector just a hair so I can read my my cheat sheet. The first thing that you want to do it does that. If it's squeaking that bad, you need to spray it with some silicone. But for right now, we're just going to wax the table. The planer works a lot easier when the table is lubricated with a little bit of paste wax. Tell you a story. I was on the committee with Jim McCann. We were doing the testing on this planer when it was being designed, and we had a meter on the planer as we were running some really wide, really hard maple through it, and it was maxing out at about 20 amps, and we were worried that if we sold it like this, it would blow circuits. And Jim says, just wax the table. And the engineer that was there said, oh, that's just an old wives' tale. So Jim did it anyway, and the draw on the amperage went down almost 50%. Tool works better and has a lot more power that it can use for cutting wood if you keep the table lubricated. And because the table is constantly being used, you have to do this, or you should do this every time you use it. Not every board, but every planing session. Remember, you apply the wax, then buff it out. Don't sit there and let the wood rub the wax off. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to touch up the knives. Planer is unplugged right now. I should not have mentioned that before I went to waxing it. You do not want to do this sort of maintenance with the thing plugged in. This will eat your hand in a heartbeat. Okay. Now, this is where this, by the way, is where the rust came from. I had this stored on here last night. The planer will cut a lot better if you just touch up the knives each time you sharpen it. I've got a small slipstone here, a water stone, and all I'm going to do is I hold this. Now I'm rocking that slipstone back and forth. I found the flat on the bevel, okay, and just a few strokes back and forth, okay, all along the length, and then we go on to the next. That little bit of touch-up each time you have a planing session will keep these knives nice and sharp. If, by the way, you should open up the hood of your planer and see that there's a lot of brown yucky stuff, resin clinging to the knives. A little bit of oven cleaner will take that off. That can also make the knives act as if they were dull. Okay, now since that was a water stone, I'm going to wash the water off or wipe it off here. Yeah. Guys, Drew is prompting me from the sidelines here to be careful doing that. I have this pad doubled up about 19 times as I'm taking the water out. Those are really, really sharp, and going back and forth on a knife is just not a good idea. Okay, knives are touched up. Now, whoop, forgot to put the dust collector back in place. What's the matter, bud? You want to go out? Says, I hate this boring woodworking stuff. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Okay.
That's wood.
Yeah. All right, let me plug her in. All right. And put the dust collector back in. Now, put the dust collector back in after I turn this around again, because I want to show you something over on this side now. Okay. The one turn of this hand crank raises or lowers the table exactly 1/16 of an inch. It's a 1/16 inch pitch thread in here. That means that at some point in this cycle, you're right at either 3/4 of an inch in thickness, or right at 13/16 or right at 7/8. And that's what these two tape lines here are all about. I'm going to take a piece of wood here, just a short piece, and I'm going to mic this. And this right now is at 761, okay? I'm going to run it through where I think 3/4 of an inch is, and see if it's right at .750. Okay. Should have had this dust collector on there. I'll get that the next time, guys. Sorry. It's right now at 755. Now I'm just going to nudge that a little bit this way and see what I get. Let's put that. There we go. Okay, it's at 751. Okay, I've got I put these two pieces of masking tape here to show me when I'm right on the 16th of an inch. I know right here if this is .75, I can turn this like this, and that will be, now I'm exactly at 11/16, 5/8, 9/16, 1/2, and so on. I know right where those are. Now, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let me. So I can use this as just a reference to know approximately where I am. Okay, but these two lines here tell me when I'm right on the money. Now, like I said, this is. I'll tell you something else here. I said that this was .751. Let me tell you a little bit about springback. When the knives cut the wood, they actually compress it, and then it cuts, and as the knives leave the wood, it springs back slightly. Okay, so that it's not quite what you set it at. There's a little tiny bit of springback. This is maple, so there'd be very little springback. If you need to take off just a royal whisker, okay, don't move the crank. Just send the wood through again, and it'll take off anywhere from 2/1000ths to 4/1000ths. Let's try that. Well, 749. Took off 2/1000ths. So that's close enough for governmental work, I'd say. Now, the next thing you need to know how to do in order to plane is know how to read the grain. Okay, get a couple boards over here. These are some problem boards that you may run into. This is a piece of zebra wood, okay? And if you look at the edge of the zebra wood, you can see right there, there is a grain slope. See that? The grain is not going straight through the wood. It's sloped slightly. If I were to cut that in this direction with the knives revolving like this, okay, I would be lifting that grain. And matter of fact, whoever did this the last time did just that, because hear that when I scrape with my fingernail? This grain has been lifted, and it is not very smooth. What you need to do is feed it so that it goes in the opposite direction and combs the grain. Okay, some woodworkers call it cutting uphill and cutting downhill. If you're going this way, you're cutting downhill. You don't want that; it digs into the grain. You want to go this way and cut uphill. So you have to look at the wood and see which way the grain slope is. Now, just keep it on the close up there for a minute, Drew, and I'll show you another board where. Okay, this I'll back up here. Can we? No, here we go. It's in focus now. This has arrows, and there is a myth out there that says that the arrows point which way you should plane the board, and that's not true. What the arrows tell you is that there is a lot of grain slope. Look at the grain slope on the edge of this piece of cherry. See that? That's almost 45 degrees where the grain slope. I'm trying to. There we go. Trying to get the light just right so you can see that. It's a little hard to see because cherry is the bands of this cherry aren't real pronounced. But that's a huge amount of grain slope to have to deal with, and you want to cut on this board. You want to cut in this direction. The slope is going. See the slope there. You want to cut uphill in that direction. This board too has been planed the wrong way, and so we're going to have to actually feed this in the opposite direction of the arrows in order to cut this. Let's take a quick cut on the. Ooh, really need some silicone there. was a much smoother cut because we were going with the grain. This is so hard though that it's burning. We've got a knot right here. That's the reason why it's burning there. But by combing the grain or cutting uphill, we were able to keep this from tearing out. Sometimes you have a board where you just don't know which way the grain is going. I have a really tough board to do here. This is a piece of curly oak. Let's go to the, see that? Look at that beautiful grain, isn't it? It's just a gorgeous piece of oak. But you've got grain zigzagging every which way here. There's no way you can figure out how to feed this wood or what's the correct way. Let me show you. I'm going to get a piece of blistered maple. Here we go. This is a piece of blistered maple. You can see the grain in this. This is the back side. Okay, look at that. See that? Okay, that's why the grain is going every which way. That's what happens in figured wood. Let's take what we're going to do. So we're going to squeak our way up to about 1/2 inch here. Now, I'm going to plane this, but I'm just going to touch it with the knives, and I'm going to set the feed as slow as it will go. One of the nice things about this particular planer is this is the only small planer on the market that lets you independently adjust the feed rate while keeping the cutter speed the same. That means that you can get a lot more cuts per inch. If you get more cuts per inch, then you're actually taking off much smaller amounts of wood, and that in turn may keep it from chipping out. Let's see if that'll do that on this. Not a chip or a tear, okay? Figured grain, some of the toughest wood there is to plane. I mean, this is oak; it tears out if you just look at it sideways, and it's as smooth as it can be. Now, if I were to get a magnifying glass, I would see that there is just a tiny little bit of feathering going on down there where it's digging into the uphill part of the grain. But a little bit of sanding will take care of that. So that's the planing tips I have for you. Clean and wax the table. Touch up the knives. Make sure you know right where you are so you can plane this to the precise thickness that you need. Read the grain, and if nothing else works, if you're still getting tear out, turn the feed down and try feeding the board in one direction or the other. That's it. Take a few questions if you have them.